For decades, Toys R Us operated as the single largest international juvenile production and retail firm on the planet. That era ended in 2018, when the retail giant officially declared bankruptcy. Data from the research firm Reese Inc. captured the immediate scale of the collapse during the second quarter of that year. Across 77 major United States metropolitan areas, 3.8 million square feet of occupied retail real estate suddenly turned vacant. The vacancy was significant because the majority of retail job growth was occurring in physical store locations. Because the labor market relied so heavily on in-person retail, these specific closures left a uniquely devastating impact on metropolitan employment. The collapse created a massive, measurable crater in the American retail economy. The standard narrative suggests that the rise of e-commerce and changing technology simply rendered the physical toy store obsolete. But technological disruption alone does not explain the bankruptcy. The company's trajectory was actually decided 13 years prior through a specific corporate finance mechanism. This was a leveraged buyout, or LBO. A leveraged buyout is a way for one company to acquire another by borrowing a large amount of money to cover the cost of the acquisition. To find the true cause of the failure, we have to look past Silicon Valley and focus our attention directly on Wall Street. How does the process of being acquired inherently bankrupt the target company? Think of it like buying a mansion using a massive mortgage. In this model, the buyer doesn't pay the mortgage with their own money. Instead, they force the mansion itself to generate the cash to pay off the loan. In corporate finance, an acquiring firm borrows vast amounts of capital specifically to cover the cost of the target company's purchase price. Once ownership transfers, the target company's capital structure is entirely reorganized. Flexible equity is replaced by rigid, mandatory debt. This forces the company to take the revenue it would normally spend on growth and redirect it toward paying the interest on its own acquisition. The LBO creates a financial straitjacket, requiring constant, flawless cash flow simply to survive the debt servicing. This model was applied directly to Toys R Us during its 2005 buyout. The deal was a staggering $6.6 billion leveraged buyout. 3 primary actors executed the deal: Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado Realty Trust. The financing they engineered was exceptionally complex. Sponsors utilized customized real estate loans and asset-backed bonds instead of traditional combined bank financing. These instruments allowed the private equity firms to take ownership of the entire company. The sponsors won their prize, but they left Toys R Us carrying the full weight of its own $6.6 billion purchase price. In the mid-2000s, internet technology and data transferring began to rewrite the rules of the retail market. Rival companies were spending capital to adapt to these shifts in consumer behavior. These metrics reveal why Toys R Us was financially paralyzed and unable to mount a defense. Available cash flow had to be continuously redirected to pay off the massive LBO debt shown on the left. Forced into austerity, the company relied on an outdated network of suppliers and aging logistics. They were trapped by physical constraints, missing the window to innovate their model while competitors moved online. Debt servicing didn't just drain their accounts, it robbed them of the capital required to evolve. Corporate resources and physical assets are temporary, and extreme debt creates a ceiling that limits a company's lifespan. Yet, a central anomaly remains. While the corporation collapsed, the emotional connection to the brand stayed intact globally. Families maintain an unmatched connection to the brand's identity, which centers on a sense of joy and energy. Because this mascot and brand name remained valuable even after the physical stores closed, the new owners built their survival strategy around that recognition. They call it G35. The G stands for Geoffrey the Giraffe, the face of that emotional connection. The 35 represents the 35 countries where merchandise and retail leaders now work as a single unified team. Wall Street dismantled the corporate entity, but the brand's cultural equity proved too valuable to let die. This revival is currently being managed by a new entity, True Kids Brands. CEO Richard Berry and President Jamie Wittenhowen are leading the return to the market. They have deployed a strategy that bypasses the need for massive, standalone real estate. The brand is launching a 451-store revival located specifically inside Macy's department stores ahead of the holiday season. The 2018 bankruptcy was the logical conclusion of a financial structure that left no room for error as the market evolved. A beloved brand's identity can outlast its physical footprint, but extreme financial engineering, like an LBO, leaves a company with zero margin for survival.